During my time on Twitter, going by X now, an aspect of my gaming fun came from a backlog. Back then, I just played games for the fun of it and usually only play once, and that's pretty much it. An example of this is during the early tender of the Nintendo Switch's lifespan. Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and Octopath Traveler were critically acclaimed RPGs, and I only played around 1 to 5 hours. I wasn't super busy, but it was harder for me to get hooked on a campaign than now. I also aim for online games and Switch exclusive software that everyone talks about. In Easter 2019, my family bought a PlayStation 4 for the house, and I got a few games for myself. Persona 5 was the last game I considered to be my favorite of all time. I ended up beating the story mode of the campaign, which was extremely rare for me. It was an excellent game, but I would rather not go into details for the sake of the video. Only other times I really beaten a game was Super Mario Odyssey and Kirby Star Allies. But 2019 also saw me beat games such as Kingdom Hearts 3 and The Last of Us Remaster, along with my brother helping me beat Detroit Become Human. When I heard about backlogging, I also joined. Christmas 2019 was the beginning of it, with new games and my way of life change. Welcome to my Loose Sanity Run.
The beginning was kind of a struggle for me. Games such as Resident Evil 2 Remake and Link's Awakening have tested my patience and how I should have handled the experiences. But Luigi's Mansion 3 was the first meltdown to occur. The final boss between King Boo was a nightmare for me. On paper, it's basic, and timing played a major role in it. But for me, giving up on the game was now harder for me to do. I built this system and beating games have been my goal now, and I need to do it more to please myself. And this game was pretty good for the majority of it, but now it became a nightmare with this boss fight. I need to beat it so I don't have to worry about it and move on. But I did beat it and move on, but now it's a game I loved. An expanded version of Persona 5 released in North America called Persona 5 Royal, and I ended up getting it as a graduation present, and for the most part, it was still Persona 5 with additional content and a more horrible intro. When I got to the interrogation scene, I chose this option as it would sound like me during this situation. Unfortunately, I didn't read the warnings. At first it went as expected, and after the Velvet Room scolded me, I got credits. I didn't expect this. I was pissed off now, and now I have to move on, but I can't. I can't do this to my favorite game. I didn't want this bad ending. I want the real ending. And I replayed the game again because of the constant mental struggles, and I finally answered it correctly, and I was able to continue and complete the game for myself. Little Big Planet 3 was an abomination of a game. I did a separate review about 1 to 2 years ago, and I personally thought it was a total bullshit game with its gameplay, and its life system was total garbage. I don't know how to read this, and I remember it being slippery, which made platforming difficult and trash. Also, the final stage was obnoxious, and if you die, you would have to redo it again. Yes, normal boss fights reset when you die, because that's part of the challenge. However, the gameplay has multiple characters to play as, and platforming in this game isn't the easiest, and you would have to rush through the game from memory. But I will give the game credit for this song, because without this game, I probably would have never heard of this time capsule of the 1950s. But I never beat it, and it's just sitting in a shelf to this day. Since people are likely going to ask this question, an issue people have with a backlog is the amount of games they usually have there, and it's usually a lot. I don't know how to give good advice for this, but I will say that I get a small amount of games, and once that set is done, I get another set and continue the cycle. But what about new games that come out? I'll get those when I get the current set finished, or when I'm able to get those new games. Lately, I'm trying to do more digital games than physical because there's more options there that are readily available, but also the industry as a whole is going for a more digital future. But for games that cost $70, I could just get that physically, as there's no real difference. With this setup, I feel more comfortable with it, and I do think that it helped make a system and control that many would wish they had. But with this setup, something just like getting through the game without having an open mind may happen, as some games I just play just to play, like the Lego games or lesser known games, or sometimes genres I don't even play often. I've talked a lot about the negative experiences, so I might as well explain some of the positives about the backlog. I do love the fact I get to beat games more often now, and I understand stories more often, which I consider to be a nice thing since I don't watch TV as much anymore, and they will need to provide the experiences to get me invested. PlayStation exclusives and Japanese RPGs are amazing examples of fantastic storytelling, even if the gameplay has below average gameplay. But why I'm making this video? I want to share a few examples of how many aspects of my backlog have been a struggle for me that I either have to walk away or was a moment of overcoming adversity in order to achieve a conclusion or satisfaction needs of how I play video games currently. There's also many other games as a whole that can take too long and are a massive grind, but that's part of the experience, and backlogs as a whole are just a checklist of games, and I ended up having fun making the list at the end of the year, ranking the games I love to what I hate from the year. And additionally, I've also learned to accept that I don't have to beat every single game, which should be a plus in my book. I'm now an adult and I should make my own decisions on what will work best or what will not work. In the end, a hobby is just a side job that requires passion.
Some bum on YouTube said that.